Okay. Hello, I'm Constance. Welcome to the movie remakes, the show about classic movies and their modern remakes. Part two.
I am Sherry, and as you heard, if you're coming here from part one, or if not, we've decided to change our format a little bit to give us a little bit shorter videos. So if you want to hear about the background of the films a little bit, get a little bit more information about the film, who's starring in it, what the reception was, go check out part one, which I will link right here. This portion of it, we will talk about what we thought of the film. We will do our recast and ask the question, should this film be remade? In case you're just picking us up here at part two and you're not going to watch part one, we are doing The Manchurian Candidate, originally released in 1962, starring Frank Sinatra, re-released in 2004, starring Denzel Washington. Constance.
So, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, Constance and I took a road trip a couple of months ago, and we went to a winery in Maine and got some cider, some hard cider.
That was so good.
So the winery, I will link the name of the winery and all the information in the comments. The cider is called from Richter Hill. And we had
That was the one in Maine, right?
That's the one in Maine where we got wait a minute, not all the ciders were great. We will admit that. But as soon as it's warm outside, sis, I say we drive back up there with some fried chicken and sit back out.
Yes. I actually, because I believe I bought their pumpkin cider.
Uh-huh.
Phenomenal. And I bought the big bottle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's real disrespectful that's all gone.
Yeah, we may have to do a road trip up to Maine and back. And like I said, we will link this place in the comments. They have an Airbnb on the property that you can rent out if you want to do that. But
gorgeous.
Even just to sit at gorgeous, beautiful. Yes, this is a movie review video, but we're going to talk about this wine. Hold on. Orchard is called Vista of Maine. And on the front side, you can pick your apples. And on the back side, you can do the hard cider tasting. But you'll sit outside, and the view from this, just sitting out there, the view was gorgeous. So
absolutely. That is what I think you could see into Vermont?
Yeah, you
on one side.
Yeah, you could see they said Vermont and New Hampshire. He's like, those mountains over there are New Hampshire. So, and this is their gold cranberry hard cider. So definitely take the trip. Ask us for recommendations on which ones to try and which ones to leave alone.
Yes, because there's some definite ones that didn't want to.
But I will link them in the comments.
Anyhow, right? Mm-hmm. I'm currently drinking Duplin's winery from North Carolina. Our darling mutual friend Missy picked up a bottle of Hatteras Red. And let me tell you, one of my favorites from that particular winery. So thank you, Missy, for this one.
Thank you, Missy. So we are here. Okay, so now we're going to talk about our impressions of The Manchurian Candidate. So overall, Constance, what is your impression of both films? Not in the lead, just overall review.
Overall, I will say I appreciated the, how do you say, the dark underside, of our government, of not just our government, actually just governments globally.
Right. And
how they so casually just toss away people's lives for, what they feel is their version of the greater good. And the tenacity that the Major has, Major Marco, right? Yes, Major Marco. In trying to figure out the truth and find the truth, and then try to do something about it. I can appreciate that. So, I mean, overall, is it going to be my favorite film? No. But am I upset that I watched it? No. I'm not upset like, the last one that we did. I want you to know I'm going to continue that until April, at least.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad at that. I generally agree. I think I saw on a Rotten Tomato, between the Rotten Tomatoes, they're like, yeah, both films are actually pretty good. And I'm like, yeah, they are. They're both very good. I love the storyline. So I now almost wish I had read the book, which I haven't read this book. So I do not know how well it matches up against the book.
Right.
But it's something
I
that
have
can
to definitely read the book on this one because I do like to see the comparison between the book and the movies and how it
all comes together. I agree with that.
Right.
So overall, I have no major issues with the changes that they made in the update from part one to from the original to the actually I did have one thing I wish they had done in the remake. But overall, I really enjoyed both films. I really enjoyed watching. I found the first one to be a little slow.
See, now for me,
it was but I say slow, but it was more deliberate. It was very deliberate in its setup.
Yeah, in its setup. Although I will acknowledge this much for myself anyway. Mm-hmm. And it could have been because when I started watching this, I was a little sleepy. So that's a side note. If you're gonna watch either one of these, you need to be aware and you need to actually be paying attention. Because otherwise it's real easy, especially in the beginning, when they're doing things and they're trying to set the foundation, it's easy to get lost because you're just like, none of this makes sense.
Those of you that have not watched the film at all or have no idea what is happening in this political thriller, very dark political thriller, the unit that Marco and Shaw belong to are kidnapped in different wars and are brainwashed. Shaw is brainwashed to kind of be an assassin to help further causes that are going on in America to try to change who's going to be the president. So I just wanted to bring that out real quick. We will discuss how Angela Lansbury, Meryl Streep character fit into this and how villainous they are. And I will finally say that between the remake and the original, the only major change in my mind from the original to the remake was this fact. The Angela Lansbury character was doing all of her political maneuverings to get her husband, Shaw's stepfather, to become the presidential candidate. In the remake, Meryl Streep is trying to get Lev Schreiber's character to be the presidential candidate.
Right. And although I can say I appreciate it in the how they updated the film, because in the original, in the 1962 version, she was the wife and she was doing all the political maneuvering behind the scenes for her husband. But in the 2004 version, she herself was a senator.
Exactly.
And I love the fact that they got rid of the basically the ineffective husband and honored the fact that, women are allowed to play in that political arena. Like, she was definitely a force in both versions. She was clearly a manipulator and everything.
Okay, so Angela Lansbury dropped one of the funniest insults I have ever heard. Hun, you are good at a number of things, but thinking is not one of them. Oh, yes. I slid under my table when I heard that. She said, and her husband.
But she was right, though. Like, she was right.
She was.
Like, just so sit up here, be the face for the camera. Let me, handle everything else.
And here's your speech. Speak it.
And you know what? And I'm probably going to receive some flack for this, but honestly, That's how I say the Bill Clinton presidency went.
Mm-hmm.
Hillary was running this country. Now Bill was, let me play my sax in the Rose Garden. That was Bill.
Yeah.
That was Bill's arena. Hillary was clearly like, you know what? You need to do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. That's my personal opinion, but opinions are opinions. I have no facts behind that, but that's my personal opinion. Like,
I agree.
But that was the best insult.
That was the best insult. And otherwise, there, all the other changes are minor and they're updates. They kept all the names, pretty much all the names the same. How they incorporated the things from the original without directly doing the original.
Right. Like the lake scene.
Yes. You picked up on that, didn't you? That's exactly the one.
The lake scene. Because in the original, he accidentally, it was an accident that he ends up.
That he got triggered.
And then somebody is in the bar with him or whatever, and they're just talking and they're like, well, just go jump in the lake. And he literally hails a cab, gets out, walks in, and jumps into the lake.
Yes. And
I'm like, wow, like life is a mofo.
Right. And in the remake, they trigger him to, also in the original, we have to bring because of what happens in the remake, we have to bring this up now. In the original, Shaw is dispatched to kill this Senator Jordan, who is interfering with the plans of the mother. He is dispatched to go kill them, and he ends up shooting him and his lady love, who in this film in the remake is played by Vera Farmiga. In the remake, they merge those two scenes. Shaw is again dispatched to go kill the senator, but he drowns the senator in a lake while he's kayaking or whatever. I'm like, yes.
Because I'm like, that is really cool. I agree. I like the fact that they incorporated that without it being a direct copy.
Exactly. I did like better in the first one how they trigger him.
Yeah, with the cards.
Yes, like whenever he saw the Queen of Diamonds, that's what, like whenever he's playing solitaire and he gets to the Queen of Diamonds, that is what triggers him. In the remake, it's just how you say their name.
Right. And that was another key difference, because in the original, it's literally Raymond Shaw that is, I mean, granted, the whole platoon was brainwashed, but it's him that they focus on to become the killer and, the assassin. Whereas in the remake, they actually use Raymond Shaw and Major Bennett.
And actually,
Marco.
You're right. I think the Marco thing, I think that was a last minute decision on the mother's part, because he was there causing trouble.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's like, because I mean, in the scene that in the remake, in the scene where they're in the classroom talking, Raymond Shaw and Marco.
Yes.
And Raymond Shaw's character, he's like, you don't think that they planned for this? They don't think they planned for you? So that's telling that there was some foresight into making sure there was that they could also control the major if he should step out of line.
Right. And the fact that he was not, he just wouldn't leave it alone, so to speak.
Right. And then when the mom called Raymond Shaw, like, well, is he there? He's like, yeah. And then, like, she wants to talk to you. So she already knew. Like, I don't want to say everything was planned meticulously, but they definitely had a plan in place should Marco become a problem.
Right.
So, and I will say, I appreciated how they drew in Marco's character a little more, but I like the original version where he's clean of this, of, the involvement, and he's, and how do you say, he's more there trying to, they play that savior role, and they leave it to him, like the whole time he's playing the savior role, like trying to help Shaw and, be the better person here. Whereas in the remake, they actually end up using Marco to do the dirty work. And that's the one thing that I kind of felt was like, and
I get it. I will also say this. There was the other change from the original that I did not like, and there's one thing we do have to talk about that we did like. The other change I didn't like from the original is that I really liked when they were doing the brainwashing scene and they were talking about it in the group of communist nations. We think we said this in our pre-conversation that the 1962 brainwashing happens during the Korean War, and you see the Koreans and other enemies of America kind of in a gallery, seeing how the brainwashing worked. But from the men's point of view, they are attending some weird discussion, a meeting about flowers, which I really liked that.
Right, with a bunch of women.
Yeah.
And like a tea party type situation.
Right, I really liked that. But in the remake, they kind of stripped all of that away, and there's like, you see them now somewhere in the Middle East. We're not too sure if this is happening after the Gulf War, or after Afghanistan,
or Desert Storm.
Or after Desert Storm. It's kind of ambiguous. But you see them with the Middle Eastern faction trying to brainwash them and then checking up on them. So that was one thing. It was like, they could have brought that scene forward. I think that would have been interesting. That's all.
Yeah. But I mean, also, and it's like, because I get it too with the updates. Like, I'm not saying tea parties are non-existent. It's just because my opinion is the tea party in the original was supposed to match up more with the mom.
Right.
That would be something that she would do and partake in, as part of her regular life. Whereas in the remake, mom's not doing a tea party. She's got worlds to run.
She's trying to run the entire world.
Right. Like I said, so for me, I'm like, I get it, and I'm okay with it. It's just like I said, like I was saying though, for the fact that Marco ends up becoming the trigger man, and actually ends up killing Raymond Shaw and his mom, versus in the original where it's Raymond Shaw kills his mom and her husband,
and then himself.
And then himself. And I like the original better, because, and yet again, my opinion is, and I guess I just feel a certain kind of way, because why is it always got to be a black man shooting a white woman in these films? It's like, why? Like that. So that was, I mean, like I said, that's just something that I noticed. Right. That kind of like, it's not awful, but a mental tick went off.
But you remember that the original order is for him to kill the presidential candidate. Is to kill is to kill the presidential candidate, so that whoever is nominated vice president would now then become the presidential candidate. But it's really Shaw committing suicide. In the newer version, he's like, not only am I going to stand here, I'm going to make sure that my mother is here so that when I die, she got to go too, because she's the problem. It's like at that, like towards the climax of the film, Shaw is becoming very aware of what has happened to him and what he's being asked to do.
Because
they're losing control of him, really.
Well, and actually in both films, because even in the first one, when he's the one that takes out his mom, the father himself, and Marco, gets there like, just a second too late. He's like, she had to be stopped. So he, at that point, he's fully aware and he's cognizant, because I want to say actually in the original film, he becomes aware of what's happening long before, like when he goes to shoot, when he kills the senator and then, and his daughter, and at that time, his wife, because they have been married. Right. So on his way out, you see him crying. Yeah. So he's aware at this point, on some level of what happened.
Of what he's been asked to do.
Right.
Now, one major change we do need to discuss is the changing in Eugenie Rose from the original film to the new film, to the remake. In the original film, Eugenie Rose was played by Janet Leigh. In the remake, she's played by Kimberly Elise, correct?
Correct.
I knew her name. As soon as I saw her, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. In both films, Rosie becomes the confidant for Marco, the one person who kind of sort of believes him, but kind of knows that the man is off his rocker. However, in the remake, they make her a CIA agent who's tracking him, and who also somehow knows, or they believe him. Like whatever unit she's from, they believe him that something is going on, and they are following him to make sure that he does not harm anyone else, I guess.
Right. So they started off on that love interest thing as a potential love interest, but then when he discovers that she too has her own secrets, it's like I appreciate, but I'm like, yeah, only because I appreciate it for the fact that yet again, they're giving women a role that's not just to be the mere sidekick for a man.
I agree with that.
So she has a career, she has her own agenda, but she's still compassionate, and I believe, on some level she cared for Marco. Because even in the end, because this time it's her that busts in a second too late.
Right. But they also save him.
Right.
Yeah, they save
which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Because in the original version, Shaw dies. Marco lives in the original version.
Correct.
But he's also not the gunman.
No.
In the remake, Marco's the gunman, but they actually end up saving him. And I guess,
and then working to get him back to normal. And also acknowledging that he does not have, what they kept saying, Gulf War syndrome. He does not have Gulf War syndrome. So yeah, so this was the Gulf War.
Okay.
So what would be your wine score review for the 1960s?
Honestly, it took me 2 glasses of wine. Like I said, I will hedge the fact that I was partially sleepy. So, and it moves a little slower, and there's a lot of moving parts. So you got to pay attention.
I'll definitely give it a 1.5. And understand our wine score is that the more wine we drink, the worse the film is. I agree. I would say 1.5 because that first part was so slow, and I'm going, why does everybody like during like the first like 45 minutes? I'm going, why does everybody really like this film? But once it picks up steam and starts going, I'm like, oh, I see now.
Right.
You gotta stick with it. For the second one,
it still took me about 2 glasses because yet again, it's still a little slow in the beginning. And although it was interesting to see the crazy that people were tucking away
right,
in their homes, but it still was like I said, about 2 glasses. It's not a bad film. It's not my favorite, but it's not a bad film, and I won't be mad to watch it again.
Same. And I also want to let me remark on the outstanding performance of Jeffrey Wright. In the remake, he is the other soldier that comes to Marco to say, are you having the dreams? The one that had his whole room marked up with what he'd been seeing.
Right.
Oh my God. As soon as he popped up on the screen, I was like, oh my God. His role in the film, he's probably there literally all of 5 minutes, like face forward.
But it was so just poignant.
Yes.
Like, he did an amazing job.
Yeah, he did all the things. And so that's for the second. I just had to mention that. For the second one, I would probably say actually just one, because I really enjoyed the second version. As soon as I jumped in, as soon as I got in, and they're kind of showing like within like the first 15 minutes, I was in. Like I said, the first one was kind of taking me in and out, but the second one, I was definitely in from the beginning. And for the awards that they did not get, the Saturn Award for Best Adventure Thriller Film. These are all nominations that they didn't get. Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress for Meryl Streep. That was the Saturn Awards. Best Supporting Actress at the BAFTAs. Black Reel for Jeffrey Wright, Best Supporting Actor, which he deserved. And Best Supporting Actress for Kimberly Elise. And the Golden Globe nomination for Meryl Streep. The second film I thought was so good, so well done.
I feel like they should have, definitely won something, because it was, and then especially with Meryl Streep's character.
Oh yes,
the woman was phenomenal. Like, we've seen her in a mix of characters, throughout various films, but the way she plays this villainous mother. Between her and Angela Lansbury.
Yeah.
Like, they each made this. They took this role and they made it their own, and they did it so well.
They did. I have no complaints on either film, which makes the next question always harder. Which one did you prefer, the 1962 or the 2004?
I'm going to say the 2004 because, and really it is very minor, but I like the fact that the women were updated to play more powerful roles on their own. Like, yet again, they weren't sidekicks to their husbands. And I understand in 1962, that's kind of what you expect for, like, that was the most a woman could be, really. Her rise to power had to be through her husband. So I expect that from 1962, but I am very happy to see in 2004, we have at least, we've updated the women to reflect that they, they can be a force all their own. So I prefer the 2004 version.
I too am going to pull up the 2004. And again, same thing, very minor. I just think as Marco, Denzel Washington did just this much better of a job at it than Frank Sinatra. Like I said, it's not that the 62 was bad, not that I would not watch the original again. I enjoyed it. I just, if I had to pick one, like somebody's like, hey, I'm going to watch the Manchurian Candidate, which one? I'll tell you to watch the 2004. Actually, I would probably tell somebody, go watch both of them, because between the two of them, they're a perfect film. They're really good, very well shot, and both of them are very enjoyable. But for the context of this question, and since I didn't pick one last month, no, I did pick last month. I didn't pick 2 months ago. I will definitely say 2004. But again, it's running neck and neck. They're not that bad. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how we would recast the film in our fantasy minds. And for this, we decided to only take on the main 4 characters. I'm gonna let you go first, Constance. I'm just setting up. We are recasting the mother, Shaw, Captain Marco, and Elise, Eugenie Rose. We decided that everybody else, while very important to the film, they're not central to the film, so they don't need. So we're not going into that. Go ahead.
So, for my Raymond Shaw, I chose Daniel Kaluuya.
Ooh,
because he played. Because literally, if you saw the movie Get Out, and he was the main character in that film, he plays that brainwashed person very well. He plays it well, and he's in the right age right now to play for, a senator, for a presidential hopeful. So that was my reason for Raymond Shaw.
I'm not mad at that.
Major Bennett Marco. I chose Wentworth Miller.
Nice.
Because I'm like, you know what? He's already got that war-torn look to him. Some shit happened to him. So I feel like, and then he's been in several movies, films, whatever, like Prison Break, I know was a really popular one for him. I think that was actually the one that
broke him out. That is true. Very true.
Right. So that was my choice for Mr. Marco. Eugenie Rose. I chose Rosalind Stigler. Simply because she has a sweet face, but there's some strength there. Like she's not a weak person. Like, she's like, I'm sweet, but I'll still kick your butt.
Got it.
That's how I see her. And so therefore I'm thinking if they keep in line with her being like a strong female character on her own, this she could work for this, because otherwise I was thinking like Kerry Washington, but I was like, but she's pretty and she's smart, but I don't actually see her like, running through things or whatever. I see her mentally. Yeah, I'm sorry. She's always going to be typecast for me in
Scandal.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand that. I completely get that.
So,
and for our villain, the mom,
Senator Eleanor Shaw, Alfred Woodward.
Oh, I ain't mad at that either. I mean, okay.
I just feel like,
actually, if you watch the beginning of Captain America: Civil War,
yes, and that's
she's in that film all of 5 minutes. But yeah, I'm here for it. Okay, so my recast, my mind jumped to Eleanor Shaw, the mother, first, and which basically kind of set up how the rest of my movie goes.
Okay.
Eleanor Shaw is played by Angela Bassett.
Okay. I'm trying to think of if I've ever seen her
play evil. No, we've seen her play
that
mad.
Would probably be a really interesting look, because she's a great actress.
She's amazing. So with that, Shaw would be played by Will Smith. Captain Captain Marco would be played by Aaron Eckhart. And my mind, if you're like, your mind's going, huh? The Dark Knight, he played Harvey Dent, the lawyer, the district attorney.
Okay.
That ends up with his face half burned. He ends up playing.
Yeah.
That's Aaron Eckhart. And for Eugenie Rose, I picked Tika Sumpner, and you would remember her from Southside with You. She played Michelle Obama, or Michelle Robinson, who eventually becomes Michelle Obama. I like her as an actress. She's really good, and I like her as an actress. And I think that this would also be like a good meaty role for her to in either version. This role is very meaty and can be.
It would be really interesting though to see the chemistry between her and Aaron
Eckhart. You're right. Good point.
I would just be interested to see how that played out, like how they would
make that work. I agree.
Yeah.
So our final question that we always ask. So should they remake this film or not?
I want to say let's leave that alone.
I believe
because I feel like if they remake it, it's going to be. It would have to be a complete departure.
Yeah, I think they would do something crazy, like somebody is a robot or something like that, and that's not what this needs. I think
I feel like it would be what we just had this past Wednesday. I'm just saying.
Exactly, it would be just like we had a few days ago. Yes, I should know. We're recording this on Sunday, January 10th, 4 days after the insurrection and or the storming of the Capitol. So,
right, can we just take a quick note to know that that day will now go down in infamy as the storming of the Capitol.
Yep. And like the fact that we lived in a time that it happened.
We are now in history books.
Yeah, we are definitely here.
I mean, because if 2020 didn't land us there,
wait a minute. I freely admit I have been on this planet for 51 years, and from 9/11 to today, I'd like to get out the history books like just for a little while. Like, can we not be in the history books just for a minute?
I mean, and we're not talking just regular, but these are major things, like the storming of the Capitol. Oh, that's a whole nother
video, whole nother podcast. So everyone, we will be back in February, and we decided to bridge Black History Month, a little bit of a love story, and into one film. So we are taking on Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. The remake is called Guess Who. So we will see you all next month. Goodbye.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Cold. There was something that walked across my brain that I wanted to make sure that we stuck in one of these videos, and it's gone. I was like, oh, I'll remember to say that after we finish recording, so I can just edit it back in. Apparently, it's not supposed to be there, so it's gone. It's gone. It's going to stay gone.
Is it about the Capitol? About the insurrection? About
no. I also want to mention that the Manchurian Candidate movie and book is often referenced. Again, we just later we're going to talk. You're going to touch on Let me start it again. The Manchurian Candidate is a trope that is actually used in other films. If you've watched Captain America: Civil War, towards the end when Tony Stark comes up to the Winter Soldier and Captain America, Tony says, okay, Manchurian Candidate, you can lower your gun. So this film is very, very impactful to other films and other stories later down the line. So I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned that.